Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to give you 7 summer fragrances from the House of Lattafa. So let's jump into it. All right, so today we are talking summertime fragrances from the House of Lattafa. One of the more requested videos. I get lots of people asking me what's a good summer fragrance from the House of Lattafa. So I got 7 of them for you here today. Links will be down in the description if you decide you want to check any of these fragrances out. Also, I have a couple coupon codes to save yourself $5 off a couple different discounters off your first purchase if you decide you want to shop with them. So got some nice ones here today. I got some sweet ones, I got some citrusy ones, I got a nice variety of fragrances for the summertime heat. So let's quit screwing around and let's get into it. All right, so first up from the House of Lattafa, we're going with one I haven't talked about in a little while, and it's just an absolutely perfect summer fragrance, and it's also the cheapest one on this list. That's Lattafa's Ijazi Intense Silver. Now you can scoop this sucker up for $15 at various discounters. So this is just a great mass appeal, dumb reach style of summer fragrance. Opens with a really nice, sharp, bright citrus accord with some mandarin and some grapefruit, and a really nice cedar note that comes through in the mid. So it has that brightness, it has that sharpness, and a little bit of sweetness coming from that mandarin orange. So it has that citrusy sweetness that works its way through, some fresh spicy woodiness that comes from that cedar. Nice light and airy cedar so it doesn't weigh that citrus accord down. Absolutely a beautiful opening to this. As it kind of opens up a little bit more, you get some freshness coming from some C notes. You get a little bit more of this dry, sweet style of amber that comes through, and just a little pop of this moss that adds like an inky bitterness to it, so that gives it this masculine foundation. But through and through, this is a very sweet style of fragrance, has those woody accords and those spices just to make this a really great mass appeal, crowd pleasing style of fragrance. Performance on this is about 6 hours of longevity, and it does push off moderately for the first hour and a half. So it's not a monster performer. You probably have to reapply this one, but if you're looking for just an enjoyable, crowd pleasing, dumb reach style of fragrance, this is the one you're going to want to look for. That's Lattafa's Ijazi Intense Silver. All right, next up, we're going with a fragrance that probably needs no introduction. And it's also one of my favorite pineapple fragrances. That's Lattafa's AlQaim. You can scoop this bad boy up for $19 at various discounters. And through, this is just an absolute pineapple bomb of a fragrance. It has this absolutely beautiful, fresh, thick, syrupy, sweet style of pineapple that works its way through with a couple other elements, some fir balsam, some jasmine, some woods, and a nice dark sweet style of amber. So the fresh pineapple vibe that's in the opening kind of gets a little bit thicker and a little bit darker as that amber starts to come through. So in the dry down, you still get the first and foremost, you're getting that pineapple vibe, but you get a little bit of that greenness, a little bit of the woodiness, a little bit of that fir balsam coming in, adding an additional kind of resinous sweetness to it. Through and through, it's just an absolutely gorgeous, sweet, thick, almost woody style of fragrance, and I absolutely love this one. Perfect for the summertime. This just has beach vibes written all over it. Performance on this about 6-7 hours of longevity, and it does push off fairly well for the first hour and a half, 2 hours before it does settle back in. Bang for your buck. This is an absolutely fantastic fragrance. If you're into that sweet pineapple vibe, you definitely need to check this one out. That's Lattafa's Latoffa. All right, next up, going over to Lattafa Pride with Lattafa Pride's AlQaim Silver. Now you can scoop this bad boy up for $44 at various discounters. And I've talked about this one almost to death now, but I just absolutely love this one. And it is absolutely perfect for the summer. If you're into citrusy, sweet style of fragrances, a little bit of ambroxan, a little bit of wood, some vetiver, some sandalwood, a touch of musk that works its way through, you are gonna absolutely love this one. The grapefruit ginger opening on this is absolutely fantastic. Very tart, zesty, zingy, uplifting, with a little bit of fresh spiciness coming from that ginger, a little bit of effervescent fizziness that comes through. That ambroxan just adds the right level of sweetness to this, and it's just beautiful. It's like opening a can of Sprite or a can of Fanta. It has that sugary sweetness that's in there, but it also has that invigorating, energizing style of citrus that's there. And those woods just add just enough of a masculine base, a little bit of that woodiness to it, just so it kind of pulls down that sweetness and that citrus just enough to make this a beautiful, well-balanced, well-blended, amazing fragrance. Performance on this is pretty good. I get about 8 hours of longevity, and it does push off pretty good for the first hour and a half, 2 hours before it does settle back in. If you're looking for a sweet citrus style of fragrance, this is the one for you. That's Lattafa Pride's AlQaim Silver. All right, next up, staying with Lattafa Pride, we got Lattafa Pride's Winner's Trophy Silver. Now you can scoop this bad boy up for $25, $30 at various discounters. I haven't talked about this one in a little while either, and I still can't get over the shape of this bottle, but This is a beautiful summer style of fragrance. Has your typical kind of citrusy style of opening to it, but it has this really nice lavender, this vanilla that works its way through, and this olibanum. So in the opening, you get that sweet citrus style of mandarin, and it mixes with some nice real green spiciness that works its way through as well. So it's a nice contrast between that sweet citrus, some spicy green earthy notes, but soon you get that lavender and that vanilla that works its way through, giving it a clean aromatic feel with some soft, sweet, creamy style of vanilla. In the base, you get a little bit of cedar and vetiver just to form that base, give it a little bit of that masculine sort of vibe going on to it. But the mix of the mandarin, the fresh spicy greens, that aromatic cleanness, and that soft creamy vanilla just makes this a very nice balance of sweet, clean, fresh style of fragrance. Not your typical kind of clean laundry or soapy style of lavender that works its way through. It has that freshness to it, it has that cleanness to it, but the mix of that green spicy and those sweet accords just make this a very unique kind of standalone fragrance. Very mass appealing, very crowd pleasing style of fragrance, absolute compliment monster, and absolutely perfect for the summer weather. Performance on this is pretty good. I got about 7 hours of longevity off this, and it does push off fairly good for the first hour and a half, 2 hours before it does settle back in. Through and through, this is a very, like I said, easy to reach for, dumb reach style of fragrance, but it has a certain uniqueness to it. That freshness, that sweetness, that little touch of that earthy, fresh spiciness to it, and that woody base, something you should definitely check out. That's Lattafa Pride's Winner's Trophy Silver. All right, next up, we're going with Toughas Najdia. Now you can scoop this bad boy up for $18 at various discounters. And this fragrance is in the same sort of genre as your Invictus Aquas or your Risasi Hawasas, but I find this to be a little bit more mature, a little bit more gentlemanly than those style of fragrance. Still opens up with a very fruity, sweet, citrusy style of accord, but it has these added spices in there. It has the cinnamon, these spicy notes that work its way through, a little bit of a floral sweetness that comes through, kind of rounds things out, gives it a little bit of a softness so it's not overly jarringly citrusy or sweet when it comes through. That floral just kind of softens the edges just a little bit. And in the base, you get a little bit of amber, you get a little bit of patchouli and some woody notes that come through, so it adds just a little bit more of a masculine base to it, a little bit more of a solid foundation, if you will, with those woods, that little touch of that earthy greenness. But through and through, this is a sweet style of fragrance that comes through. But with those spices added to it, I just find it to be a little bit more mature than your Invictuses, than your Risasi Hawasas. And I absolutely love this one. Still has that sexy, flirty, playful vibe going on to it, but it just has a little bit more of a gentlemanly appeal to it. Performance on this is absolutely fantastic. I get 8+ hours. This is a bit of a beast mode fragrance off of my skin, and it does project off very good for the first 2, even 3 hours before it does settle back in. If you're looking for that sort of Invictus style of fragrance, but you're wanting to kind of dial back that bubblegummy sweetness a little bit, have a little bit more of a masculine boldness to it, you might want to check this one out. That's Toughas Najdia. All right, next up, we're going with the most energizing fragrance on this list, and that is Lattafa's Mahir Legacy. Now you can pick this bad boy up for $27 at various discounters, and this is just a beautiful, invigorating, refreshing, energizing, sporty style of fragrance. Opens with this lime note that is absolutely incredible, along with some grapefruit, some lavender, a little bit of this spearmint that works its way through. So this lime that comes through, very zesty, very tart, has this zing to it. The grapefruit just accentuates that citrus accord. Nice, clean, fresh, aromatic lavender that's in there. And this spearmint that just adds this kind of cooling nature to it, a little bit of sweetness coming from that minty profile, but mixing with that lavender, just kind of this cool, fresh, clean, breezy vibe, mixing with that really energizing citrus accord. Absolutely beautiful opening to this. As this opens up a little bit, you get some juniper berries, some geranium, a little bit of spicy pepper that works its way through, just adding a little bit of character to it, a little touch of greenness to it, but through and through it still has that sweet, citrusy, clean sort of vibe going on to it. And in the base, you get a little bit of an ambroxan, musky sort of feel that comes through, just giving this a bit of a foundation, a little bit of an added push, and a little bit of additional sweetness. Really nice balance of that citrus accord, that clean aromatic sweetness. Absolutely a beautiful, beautiful fragrance, and this has gone down in price since I did my original review, so this is definitely in the $27 range and much more affordable now. Absolutely love this one. Performance on this, about average, 5-6 hours of longevity, and it pushes off fairly good for about an hour and a half, 2 hours before it does settle back in. So you will have to reapply this if you're going out for longer periods of the day, but the most energizing, invigorating, sporty fragrance on this list, and I absolutely love this one. Definitely worth checking out. That's Lattafa's Mahir Legacy. All right, last, but certainly not least, going back to Lattafa Pride with Lattafa Pride's Ishq El Shayuk Silver. Now you can pick this bad boy up for $35 at various discounters. And this is another pineapple style of fragrance, but it is much different than the Cahiers d'Alforsan because there are other things that work its way through, and this is a little bit more depth to it, a little bit more character than the Cahiers d'Alforsan. Opens with some lemon, bergamot, pineapple, and black pepper. What you mainly get is that black pepper infusing in with that pineapple, just adding that spiciness to it with that citrus sweetness. The lemon and the bergamot play in there, but they just kind of accentuate that pineapple and almost kind of uplift that black pepper note, giving it that little bit of added sharpness, almost a little bit of a nose tickle. And soon you get this nice, soft, creamy style of vanilla. It just kind of drizzles itself over top of that pineapple and that spice. Absolutely beautiful mix of that spiciness, that citrus, and those sweet accords with that softness and that sharpness contrasting. Just absolutely a gorgeous opening to this. As this develops and gets towards the dry down, you get some nice, light, soft, airy woods that work its way through, a little bit of cedar wood. You also get a little touch of patchouli that works its way in there, giving it an earthiness, a little bit of a green sort of facet to it. But through and through, this is just like a spiced pineapple dessert drizzled in vanilla, sitting on top of a nice cedar plank, a nice, light, airy cedar. Absolutely beautiful, masculine, sexy, mass appeal style of fragrance that has that right level of that citrusy pineapple vibes going on to it to make this just a great summer style of fragrance. Performance on this is pretty good. I get about 7 hours of longevity, and it does push off pretty good for the first hour and a half, 2 hours before it does settle back in. If you're looking for a unique style of pineapple fragrance with just a little bit of added character to it, you might want to check this one out. That's Lattafa Pride's Ishq Al Shayouk Silver. All right, so there you have it. That's 7 summer fragrances from the House of Lattafa that I think you should know about. But I want to hear from you guys. What's one of your favorite Lattafa fragrances for the summertime? Comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love getting your different recommendations, your hidden gems, taste and scent profiles. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.